Well, welcome back to The Takeout. I thank you for hanging out with us. Former NFL sideline reporter Michele Tafoya announced her run for the Senate in Minnesota as a Republican. Here's what she told CBS News Minnesota about her qualifications.
I've been a journalist. I ask questions. I look for answers. I look for truth. And I hold people to account. I never went on the air and reported a story unless I knew it was absolutely sound. I think dealing with people is really what it comes down to. And you're dealing with coaches, owners, players, players when they've lost, players when they've won, all those circumstances. And that might not seem relevant, but I would contend it is.
Also relevant, name recognition, and Michele Tafoya starts the race with plenty of that. I want to bring in our political panel. Doug Heye, Republican strategist, former communications director for the RNC. Kendra Barkoff Lamy, Democratic strategist, former press secretary to Vice President Joe Biden. Doug, Michele Tafoya, assess.
Well, you start with the obvious, name ID.
Yeah, huge.
And the other, as we saw in that clip, she knows how to talk.
She's
right?
a talker.
Now, holding people to account isn't always what did you feel when you scored that game-winning touchdown, which is a lot of the sideline questions. But she can talk. She has a huge name ID. And the most interesting thing to me was she was asked about what's happening in Minneapolis. And she didn't give the standard Trumpian line. She said it was a tragedy. It shouldn't have happened. That tells us potentially.
Renee Good.
Yes.
Yes.
Tells us potentially she could be a different kind of Republican. We'll have to see.
And she wouldn't necessarily need to be in Minnesota because Minnesota Republicans tend to be little more shades of moderate than hard Trumpian Southern or border state Republicans.
Absolutely. If we go down the list of longtime Republicans from Minnesota, they don't tend to really be the right wing of the party. One other just cautionary note there. She is a first-time candidate, and you never know, R or D, how somebody is until they've actually started campaigning for that job.
Kendra, any thoughts?
I was just going to say, it is early. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of folks get into the primary. I do think if ICE continues to do what they are doing in the state, it's going to be hard for any Republican to win in the general election.
Because of the general public attitude that whatever law enforcement or public safety objectives you're pursuing, the harshness of these tactics rub us the wrong way.
Of course, you're seeing people pulled out of their homes, American citizens pulled out of their homes with blankets on them. That is going to be something that's going to be used in ads for any Democrat in any state, but let alone in Minnesota.
And one thing to watch here is if she campaigns as a non-traditional, say, in the new Trumpy Republican Party, non-traditional Republican, what does Trump do when she tries to do some separation? Most Republicans, when that happens, he mows them down. The smart thing would be to let her do what she needs to do to win. Donald Trump doesn't always do that.
Let's do an update on redistricting. We talked about it a lot several weeks ago for all sorts of important reasons. Just want to update things. Our friends at the Cook Political Report have a couple of graphics on this. Where things stand right now, redistricting that's been signed into law. You've got Texas +5, Missouri +1, North Carolina +1, California +5. In all likelihood. Those are not guaranteed, but that's certainly the trend lines. Now, redistricting that is pending, again, from our friends at the Cook Political Report. Virginia, +4, possibly. Maryland, +1. Florida, +3. So, Doug, when all the dust settles from this, will have this been a net plus or net negative or a push for President Trump?
Complete waste of time for the American public is the honest answer.
We can agree on both of that.
I was told there was going to be no math here, but if I did the pluses and minuses.
I always do it with caution on live television.
I think basically it was a wash. And so ultimately we went through this for nothing. I think we further stratified parties and voters against each other.
I wonder, though, this, Doug. Does redistricting and efforts to do it antagonize the out party more than it mobilizes the in party?
I don't think we know yet. I don't think we know yet. But we also know that there aren't a whole lot of competitive seats regardless. And so we've taken some that were competitive and moved them to non-competitive, Republican and Democrat.
Yeah, I was going to say, Doug and I don't always agree on a lot of things, but I do think that this is what right for the American people. The American people should get to go to the poll. They should get to vote for the person they think is the right person, not based on where they live precisely, but based on their geographic area.
That happens once every 10 years after a census.
Correct.
Mid-session, jarring, and disruptive.
Correct.
All right. I know you're so happy to hear this, folks, but we're looking toward a potential government shutdown again at the end of the month. One of the things that's going to hang in the balance as to whether or not there is or isn't is funding for the Department of Homeland Security. An underlying issue there, what limits, if any, will be placed on ICE personnel? House and Senate Democrats are pushing for some. Republicans are refusing. This could snag everything. Doug?
First off, the House has passed all of its appropriations bills. And really, that should be the front page banner headline, because that hasn't happened in generations at this point.
It is required, though. Doug.
Sure. It's been required and hasn't happened,
it's basic
right?
Work, yes.
Yes. Congress doesn't do its basic work.
I'm not going to pat them on the back
most of the
for doing
time.
what they're supposed
I
to
will
do
pat them
anyway.
on the back for this, but we come to a real choke point, and that's the United States Senate. And it seems pretty clear that they're not going to be able to get 60 votes. Going into a shutdown in an election year is very different from where we've typically been. We really use it in the out years. So how this plays electorally, I don't think we know yet.
Kendra, for Democrats, a smart move to block, maybe have another shutdown over this issue?
Look, I think that there is an opportunity here for Democrats to use this, what we are seeing in Minnesota, we are seeing playing out across the country, to do the right message. I do not think defunding ICE as a message as a whole is the right thing for Democrats to do. But I do think there is an opportunity here to highlight exactly what is going on, because it is going to draw people to the voting box come November.
Being specific about the circumstances in which pepper spray might or might not be used, something like that goes to specifics of what you do on the ground when you encounter people who are protesting, something of that nature.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're seeing on the ground law enforcement themselves, not ICE, but local law enforcement pushing back on ICE's tactics. And so I think you're going to see that play out in a way that Democrats should use to their advantage as they're working on these bills.
Kendra, you get the last word. Kendra, Doug, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you.
You don't need the tie next time, my brother. You do not need the tie.